Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome at the Economic Times Women Trailblazer. This is Priya Raghuvanshi, digital content creator, ETHRWorld, and I'm really excited to introduce you all to our keynote speaker on this very special occasion of International Women's Day. Please join me in welcoming Vineeta Singh, founder and CEO of Sugar Cosmetics. Over a decade ago, IIM Ahmedabad and IIT Madras alumni Vineeta Singh had declined a top dollar investment banking placement offer to start her own venture. Having served in leadership positions at various multi-million dollar businesses since and successfully building India's largest beauty subscription service along the way, Vineeta co-founded Sugar Cosmetics in 2015 with a single point agenda of creating world-class makeup products with high pigmentation that specifically cater to the Indian skin tone. With a vision of building sugar as fast fashion for the face, Vineeta advocates a fast-paced work culture where speed and experimentation lead the way for rapid innovation and a launch-packed calendar. The women-centric D2C brand with a focus on core business fundamentals and an innate understanding of the customer and her needs boast an impressive workforce of 300,000 plus employees, with over 75% being women. Under her leadership, the startup clocked a 60% growth in sales during the pandemic and even hit 2 million mark on Instagram, making it one of the largest digital-first brands in India. Well regarded in entrepreneurial circles of her business ventures, Vinita is one of the investors at Shark Tank India, one of the most successful reality shows in the country in recent times, which witnessed Vinita investing and mentoring the budding future entrepreneurs of India. As an esteemed voice in the industry, Vinita had also spoken at multiple business summits and government platforms where she has started candid details about her journey and the future endeavors in store for the D2C sector. So without any further ado, please put your hands together for Vinita.
Hi, Priya. Thank you so much, firstly, for the very warm introduction. And happy Women's Day, of course, to all the women. It's a very special month for all of us. And given the fact that 99% of our customers are women, and like you mentioned, 75% of our employees are women. We have more than 2,000 women who work for us here at Sugar. And I do have a dream of ensuring that this number goes up all the way to 10,000. So Women's Day is, of course, a very, very special day. It's a company, I believe, is truly by the women, for the women. And in fact, I often say in my conversations that, content and product and all of that is fine. But I think what our real superpower is the incredible women that work here at Sugar, because at the end of the day, they are able to mirror our consumers in terms of their aspirations, their dreams, their struggles so well that they can truly relate to who our customer is. And that's probably been one of the biggest reasons for Sugar's success. We are now at an annual revenue run rate of about 500 crores. And I feel that a large part of that is driven by a very motivated team of young women. And I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful because they inspire me every single day. So I want to talk about, in the context of women trailblazers, I think I want to talk about two things. One is, of course, about the idea of paying it forward and just asking ourselves as women leaders every single day, are we lifting as we are climbing? So that's the one theme that I want to talk about today. And the other theme is, of course, about unconditioning. And I will want to start both of these with personal stories. So for the first one, so which is about paying it forward. So I grew up to a mom who was a working mom who worked through her entire, was back at work within 6 months of delivering me. And although I could see the struggle, the idea that there was an option to take a career break after having a family never came up in conversations at our home. And I was raised almost, I'm the only child of my parents. So I was raised just like a boy would be raised. And growing up, I realized that, just having role models mattered a lot. And then I started seeing this play out in our organization. And when I had both my children, so Sugar is about 6 years old, my elder son is 6 years old, my younger son is 3 years old, and I had both my children during my last 6 years. And although I had the option as an entrepreneur, you have a great team, you don't really need to be back at work within a couple of months, and you don't need to be bringing your little one to work, because I had like a great support system. My mom was in town. I really had a great team that could carry on, and I could properly take a 6-month maternity break if I wanted to. But I would always show up with my little ones at the workplace, even when they were as young as 1-2 months old. I would go with them to our stores where we would meet our staff, because I realized that just for them to see me struggle, to see me really clearly fumbling my way through all my meetings. I often joke about it that there was one day we had a much smaller office where I was doing an interview with somebody, and in the middle of the interview, and I had my little one who was like 1 to 2 months old at that time. I don't remember the exact age, but in the middle of the interview, the little one pooped. And with when they are very small, they are very noisy and smelly, and it became so uncomfortable, because the candidate almost started wondering if this was a part of the recruitment process where we are going to put him through this extreme sensorial trauma to just test how excited he was about the role at Sugar. And of course, that wasn't the case, and I excused myself and had to step out then with my little one. But the idea is that just to see parents struggle and go through that, and break that idea of having a perfect life and having it all, I felt that it made a huge difference. And then after that, one of our designers, she actually got her little one. She came back from her maternity break, and we had this offsite where she got her 9-month-old to our offsite, and everybody loved having her around. And ever since there are several women who've gone through their maternity, they've come back, they've got their children to workplace, they've got their children to offsite, and we've just normalized the idea of not being perfect in our endeavors to try to build our careers and be fantastic at our jobs, but also we have that other life which is full of guilt and full of struggles and full of just trying to keep things going at home. And in that process, I realized that just having role models made all the difference. And the reason why, if you look at the workplace numbers in the last couple of years, they've gone down. We have less than 20% of participation of women in formal workforce. And there are just, in my experience, seeing that women make fantastic leaders, women have best retention numbers in terms of, from their employee perspective, they're great managers, they're great multitaskers. And, it helps the company grow faster just to have more women. And that's my selfish motivation. But even if you look at from the perspective of the country, there is a McKinsey report that says that just, that number of 20% of participation of women in workforce, if we move that number just by 10%, that can actually have a $770 billion impact on our GDP. So from the perspective of our big goal of saying, okay, we're going to have a $5 trillion economy, I think one of the most under-leveraged, underutilized asset that we're actually sitting on is these women who are not in the workforce, but they're educated. And I really feel that it's just in our selfish interest from an economic standpoint, as well as CEOs of companies, from a practical business standpoint, to push for solving for these numbers and ensuring that this number of women participation in workforce goes up to almost 50%. And for that, what we're going to need is a lot more role models. And I often say that paying forward matters because I've seen it happen. So if you look at decision makers in venture capital firms, it's less than 5% of them are women. And if you look at the funding globally, less than 2% of it goes to women. But at Shark Tank, where they decided to put 3 women in a panel of 7, in the decision-making position. Almost 50% of the funding actually went to women. So just compare the two numbers here that we're talking about, right? And that just shows the impact of having more people in key decision-making positions, having more role models. And now looking at this season of Shark Tank, where so many women from the age group of 16 to the age group of 65 walked out of the tank with funding for their businesses. And so many women came in presenting everything under the sun, from achar to ice creams to technology, seeing women CEOs with co-founders who are men, but the women taking charge and taking the leadership on those conversations. I think that's going to have a huge impact on every young girl in every small city, in every village in India, who so far thought that women do not deserve to be the best in the world, or so far thought that the great career is for men, and after she decides to have a family, she's going to have to sacrifice her career. So, but it is also very important for us as women and I feel I've been very lucky. I managed to be, I always talk about the fact that 10 to 15 years of struggle in terms of the business and failing and lots of stuff not working, lots of rejection. But I'm also very grateful that somehow I turned out to be at the right place at the right time, where the idea that a brand could be built out of India was considered acceptable. Like literally 6 years back, people would not ever think of buying a brand that was made in India. People always had this aspiration of Western brands and European and American. And to think that the world would change so much where a brand born out of India could become aspirational. I feel that, yes, I have been lucky to be at the right place at the right time, had a lot of great people who came in and supported the journey. Although I had more than 100 rejections from investors, had those 2-3 who really backed us and solidly helped us build our business with giving the right capital at the right time. And so I recognize every single day that the only way I can pay back is by actually paying forward, by being a better role model, by employing more women, by investing in more women-led companies. And that's one of the biggest reasons that I actually decided to be on Shark Tank, so that I could fund more businesses. And 65% of the funding that I have done on Shark Tank has gone to women. And I feel that these women will then employ other women who will then start their own companies. And this will start this massive cascading effect, which will eventually have that impact of bringing the workforce participation to 30 or 40%, which will impact the GDP. So I feel that, so that's the first theme that I wanted to talk about. And it's not just me, everybody who's reached a certain scale in their career owes this to the people who actually mentored them and supported them and promoted them. And it's important for us to continue doing that till these odds go in the favor of women, because odds so far are really against them. The second thing that I want to talk about is unconditioning. So the greatest feminist in my life when I was growing up was actually my dad, who would always push me to say that, you have to be the best in the world. And he was so fed up of the time that my grandmom would spend in the kitchen just trying to perfect the meal in terms of the decoration and cut aloo really small and make razor thin rotis, that he used to tell me growing up that you don't need to go to the kitchen at all. You need to be the best in the world in whatever you do. And while that was a very extreme view, I realized later on that this was a part of him trying to compensate for the years of conditioning where women do not have anybody to share their load. And as a result of it, if you look at the Bill and Melinda Gates report on India, it shows that 6:1 is the ratio of the time that's spent in doing unpaid domestic chores by women compared to men in India. And this is irrespective of the education. So I feel, and this is for all the men who are going to be a part of this, and I know that there are many men in HR roles and there are many men in decision-making positions. I think we talk a lot about diversity in our organizations and, having more women and being supportive of women. But if there's the one thing that men can do to make it easier for women, then that is sharing the load at home. and ensuring that this 6:1 comes as close to 1:1. And when we talk about the load, I talk about everything from just the emotional, mental, physical load of keeping the house running, because at the end of the day, as women, we have a certain amount of bandwidth. We have 24 hours, right? So if we are spending 6 hours a day or 8 hours a day in just keeping our house running and unpaid domestic chores, then we just have so much mental and physical bandwidth left to invest in our careers. So if you truly want to support diversity, if you want to support more women at workforce, the biggest shift that you can do is just take on more decision making. My own board member told me about how he decided to take up the entire kitchen process from his wife, because she was struggling with the fact that decision making is also a load, like every day making decisions on certain things to be done every day in the kitchen, and just taking that away freed up her bandwidth so much that she was okay with doing everything else. And I feel that these small things go a long way. There will be a lot of unconditioning required, because there are these assumptions about certain tasks being only meant for women. There are questions that we ask women in interviews, like what will you do when you have a family, which we don't ask men. We only reserve them for women. A lot of this unconditioning needs to happen. But I feel that this one part is where the men need to stand up for the women in their lives and for all the other women in workforce to make it happen. So these are my two requests for men and women watching this on Women's Day. I feel that women have been very long told to not be ambitious, to not think big, to contribute and give more than they receive. It's time to change all of that, and we need to come together to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vineeta. And so much rightly said that men needs to share the responsibility so that women can do whatever they want on the professional front as well. Thank you so much for the thrilling and inspiring address today. It was our pleasure having you with us on the forum today. I'm sure the audiences have taken down all the key takeaways. Stay tuned for more sessions, such engaging sessions at ETHRWorld Women Trailblazers. Thank you so much.